Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Altishan, Director of Client Partnerships here at Pacific Cascade Legal. And today we have Open Adoption Success Coach Ayo Haynes to talk about modern family by choice, making the leap as a single adult to open adopt a child. So, Ayo, before we jump in, first of all, thank you for being here today. And could you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into this particular passion?
Sure. Well, my name is Ayo Haynes, as you said. I'm an open adoption success coach, and I help women and in their 40s and 50s become mothers through open adoption. And it's one of those things that they've always wanted to be a mother, but the situation of their romantic life may not have coincided at the perfect time and with their fertility. And they have the option to not be a mother for the rest of their life or seize the opportunity right now and work with me to help guide them through the process.
Oh, I love
And
it. This is going to be great. This is going to be
thank
great.
you.
We've been wanting to do one like this for a long time, and I was so happy when you connected with us. So I'm going to start with, the my 101 question, I call it. What is an open adoption?
Yes, so an open adoption is when both parties, the adoptive family and the birth family, know who they are, each other are. There's information that has been exchanged. They know the names and the city even, and some characteristics or information that was filled out on the information page that the birth family gave to the adoptive family. And that's really it, right? You can take it further because every adoption is incredibly different from the next. So there may be an opportunity where you have just limited information and you're happy with that. I would call that a semi-open adoption, where you have the information, but you're really not really interested in pursuing more contact. That is not my preference. I actually prefer people who are in the adoption process and in the adoption world, if it's possible, if it's feasible, if it's safe, to have an open adoption where there's an open exchange of information, pictures, stories, highlights of different events that the child is going through, an exchange of medical information that might be needed and necessary later on in the child's life. Having a relationship with the adoptive family and the birth family that has at its core the mental and spiritual and physical health of the child that they both share in common.
The um, hold it. I'm not sure why the recording stopped,
I'm
but
not sure either.
um, Elena, you there?
There
Oh,
we go.
you're back. That's why these are live. This is
Yes.
good. Fortunately, I didn't swear or do anything like that, which happened. But getting back, um, the open adoption uh, concept, it feels to me like it almost has to has to become the norm, if for no other reason. Uh, you know, Technology makes it so simple to find out, at least who your DNA is from. So if you're just trying to hide, it just feels like there's not really a place for that very much right now, unless there's, like you said, safety issues. Um, so can these things be where the parties actually talk about the ways to raise their child, the child, or is that more co-parenting, which we don't do as much?
Yeah, well, open adoption is not about co-parenting. Open adoption is knowing and having a relationship of some sort where the child at some point in their life will be able to say, where did I come from? Who do I look like? How did our family come to be? So that's what open adoption at its core should be. It's a place of resource. It's a place of resource. Should we stop?
No.
Okay. It's a place of resource for the child and for the adoptive family. It's not a place of or something where you are looking for advice, where you're looking for advice on how to raise your child. No, it's your child. You are the parent. They are the birth parent, but you are the mother. You are the spiritual and emotional source of love for that child. And if a relationship that is deeper than just knowing who each other is, are, comes about, then great. If you get to a place where you are having Sunday dinner, fantastic. If you are going on vacation with each other, incredible. But at its beginnings, it's just thank you so much for choosing me to be your mother, the mother of your child. And I promise that I will let your child know how great you are and how grateful I am to you for allowing our family to start this way, right? And
Yeah.
you mentioned something about hiding, right? Hiding means shame, and adoption should not be about shame.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we have to work through in the adoption community is changing the narrative. Adoption is a wonderful option to building a family, whether you're a couple or single. It's a wonderful way to rescue a child from a situation that's not ideal or where the parent, the birth parent, is not equipped financially or other to be able to provide for that child to the extent that that child deserves and needs. So we are getting rid of hiding. We're getting rid of shame. We're getting rid of regret. And the more that there is a relationship of some sort between the birth family and the adoptive family, then those emotions go away. And the more that you can start an open relationship with the birth parent early on, or at least with the promise of it, you will see that there will be less disruptions in adoption because the birth parent will not want to change their mind. They change their mind and go back on their desire to adopt because they either do not see you fulfilling the promise of going through and keeping an open exchange of information. And if they were to go with a closed adoption, the regret and the desire to see that child would be so great that it would be something that they can't live with. But if they know that at various points in that child's life, they're going to get information, they're going to be presented as a kind and loving person and not, this person that you should be fearful of, and they're going to want to take you or they weren't good enough to keep you. We get rid of all of that and start from a place of love and gratitude for the decision that the birth parent made, then you will see that more adoptions will actually carry through to completion rather than be disrupted or terminated.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. It's getting rid of the fear of the unknown.
Right.
And not just for the child, but like you said, for the birth parent, the adoptive parents, it's opening it up, which makes me wonder, do many of these open adoptions have, I mean, do they actually make a contract, or do they set down some guidelines or boundaries so that
Yes,
both sides are comfortable with making these contacts?
that's definitely the best way to start with an agreement of some sort saying how much contact there will be, for how long, what kind, what's the medium, who is the in-between person? Are you sending the information back and forth to each other, or is it going to the social worker or to the adoption agency? Generally, in the beginning, there will be that middle person. For in my particular situation, I had the opportunity to meet my daughter's birth family, her mother and her grandmother, in the delivery room. And it was there that our relationship began. And we came to a mutual agreement to not have a third party be the person to receive the information from each side, and that we would do an exchange of information. We didn't have anything written down per se, but we had a oral agreement that came from a place of trust in that moment. And it has served us well. We have not had any issues. It's been a wonderful relationship. We started texting from the beginning, and I can't say enough for having structure. Structure is good. Expectations are good, setting expectations. So there's no room for disagreement or a confusion. And you said, no, let's just be very clear. And you may find that naturally you don't need it any longer. And there may be times as the child gets older that you may want to revisit the original one or adapt it or make it more stringent. It depends on what's going on in each family's life. But my biggest thing I want to convey is that the birth family is not the enemy. They are not the people to be fearful that they're going to come and take your child away and parent your child. Once the agreement is signed where they relinquish their parental rights, the birth family has no rights parentally to your child. And that's something that we have to just continually say and make sure people understand when we're talking about open adoption. That's what one factor of it. There's another factor, but I'll let you ask me another question if you want.
Oh no, I love what you're talking about, but I will ask this because I kind of thought about as you're talking, is it common for someone to come to someone like you before they make the decision, while they're just still contemplating whether they want to adopt at all? Because it would seem to me that getting the advice that you're giving right now would do wonders for helping people kind of not be as concerned.
Yes. I feel that it is so important to not go into adoption with a sense of fear and dread. That comes from what we have been fed societally, and it's like the stories that get pushed forward into the narrative, right? None of the fantastic hundreds of thousands of incredible adoptions get put to the forefront, a few here and there, but the ones that grab national attention are the ones that are the really negative ones that involve disruption and generally involve foster care adoptions. Because in adoption, a straight private adoption, those rights are terminated within 3 months generally.
Yeah.
So the only way that there's a fight and struggle is if there's a foster care and there's a long ongoing period where the birth family is wanting that child back, and it has been made known for quite some time that they want the child back, and whatever's going on with the judge, family court may have made that not happen. That's generally when you see those really horrible stories come about. But the overwhelming uh, number of adoption stories that are positive are astronomical. And you're saving a child and giving a child a life that their birth parent wants for them. That's why they're giving, or I shouldn't say giving, because I really hate using the word giving up for adoption. Placing for adoption or placing in love with another family, because they want this incredible life for their child that they're
Yeah.
not able to give.
And that brings me to, I was just going to ask, and I think you started to answer, the prospective birth mother, who, like you say, a lot of times is the forgotten person. Um, does she or get to make the choice? Because it's always the old thing you think about is, oh, look, we picked out this baby, being, the adopter
Right.
folks. But in this case, it sounds like the birth mother gets to pick, or at least have a lot of,
Absolutely. The
confidence
birth
in
mother,
who's going to be the adoptive family.
absolutely. 100%. In a foster care situation, no. But in a
No.
private adoption, absolutely. The
Yeah.
birth family is the one that's choosing. They're choosing from among different family groups and types. They have a brochure from each family that they're looking through and seeing different stories of who that family is, where they live, what kind of home, who's in the child's life or will be. The birth family at that point has all of the power and they can stop the adoption at any point. So it doesn't behoove you to make them the negative person or the person to be
No.
feared. It doesn't even behoove you to pretend to be friendly with them and then later on change your mind. That's not good either. So I always say if I can be so nice to the person at the coffee shop for making my coffee and say thank you and get into conversations with them, why can't I get into a conversation and really say thank you to the person who has changed my life beyond a shadow of a doubt because they have chosen me to be the mother of their child?
Yep.
Why can't I have a wonderful conversation and say that to them, but I can thank someone so profusely for, letting me cut them in line at the
Yeah.
grocery store or making me a coffee, right? They're not the villain, right?
Right.
They're not the villain. They are the people who have been so life-giving to your family and how your family started.
And maybe this is a case by case thing, but in general, when do you think it's best for the child to start communicating with or without the parents kind of control?
Well, I mean, I think from the very beginning, you're always in control as the mother. You are their mother. And if there's a father involved, you're the parent, your mother and father. You are going to make the decision that's right for that child. At any point in their life, you should always be communicating to them about their adoption and how your family came to be at the level that they are able to understand. You're not going to talk to them at 2 years old about adoption, how you would talk to someone who's 10, right? So for me, I just started reading books about adoption. And, there was one called I Wished for You. Beautiful story about two teddy bears, and the mom is talking to the little baby teddy bear about how she wished for them to be in their life. And it was just incredible. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to start reading this book to her. And it was a simple conversation. I said, this is how you came to me. You had a mama that loved you so much that she saw that I couldn't have a child, and she decided to give me the opportunity to raise you as your forever mother. And she's like, oh, that's so wonderful. At that age, they don't know anything. They're like, okay, they will take, if you color it negatively, it will be negative. But if you color it positively, they will love it and they will take it. So it becomes a badge of honor. I was selected. Our family started when she gave you me, and or the opposite way, me, you. And so it's never too early. They have to understand, but you don't want to wait to 3, 4, 5, 6, and later. I believe. I think you started early, it becomes part of their narrative and who they are. There's no shame. And you don't ever want someone else to have emotional control over the emotional health of your child. Meaning, if you have not told that child that they're adopted and other people in your family and your circle of friends know, and they could drop the bomb at any time because it would be a bomb because you have not prepared that child to receive that kind of information, why give them that opportunity? And it may not be something that they wanted to do purposely, but even in an accident, you are allowing your child to have a devastating and potentially traumatic experience that could be avoided if you take control, you take emotional control over the narrative, and you empower your child to understand that adoption doesn't mean that you're less than. Adoption doesn't mean that you weren't wanted. Adoption just means that you and I have created a family together, a family unit in an incredible way that is absolutely, actually, repeatedly founded in the Bible. So many people were adopted in the Bible, right? If
Yep,
you're coming from a
that is
Christian or
true.
Islamic or Judeo-Christian um, standpoint, right? It's adoption all throughout, even Jesus, right? I mean, so it's a beautiful thing.
It sounds like it sort of is a natural fit because you're also the child is growing into it as opposed, like you said, of being just at age 12. Oh, by the way, you're adopted.
Oh,
Yeah,
horrible. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. The
Or if you're in your 30s, oh, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Or hey, mom, I just went on Ancestry. I think I'm adopted.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that mistrust goes away.
You do break down a lot of the trust in a familial relationship when you are not being forthright about how children come to be, right? Whether they're biologically yours, and there might be a story behind the parent, the father, that part. You don't want to do that, right? Let's
Yep,
just be truthful,
yep,
and
yep.
the truth will set you free.
I love that. See, is there ways that I come to you and I say, well, I want this to work as best it can. I really do. What things should I uh, look at? What things should I start with? Just that how can I make sure that it doesn't go afoul?
Right. Well, the first way is to make sure that you are clear with some kind of plan, written plan. But you're going to be having a conversation about open adoption, and it's going to be in your brochure, whether you're open to an open adoption or you want to close adoption. If you want to close adoption, you will probably have less birth parents choose you because most of them want to have an open adoption. So no birth parent is going to choose a parent if they want an open adoption is going to choose an adoptive family that does not. And so you can just start by putting it in your brochure. This is what you want. This is exactly what I did. I was very upfront and I said, I want to make sure that my child knows the sacrifice that you made and how much you loved her or him. And this is the reason why you did it, right? That is very appealing to a birth parent who is struggling with one of the most difficult decisions of their life of whether to raise that child themselves or not. And so again, you can have conversations, you can talk to an attorney, you can talk to your social worker, you can talk to someone like me who is an open adoption success coach who has lived this from the beginning. I'm 10 years in. And my daughter's birth mother and we've had a relationship for all 10 years. We see each other once a year, but we contact each other throughout the year. I share pictures without being prompted. And, there might be times where she doesn't respond right away, but she's got her own life too. I don't take it offense, right?
Right.
It's just, I want you to have this. And when I think you asked earlier, when is the right time for a child to see that or meet the birth parent? It really depends, right? You take it as you see your child is mentally and readily able to understand. And they may not understand who they're meeting, but at some point you can just say, this is a really special family friend.
Yeah,
And that might be all they need for right now, even though they may not put together that this special family friend is their adoptive parent, right? Because we're dealing with concepts that they may not fully grasp. They may grasp in the moment that they are adopted, but they may not understand who this person is. So you're
right,
just introducing them as friends and, someone that really cares about both of us.
right.
And for me, my daughter, it was at 2 years old. I think she was 2.5.
That's wonderful. The we're almost out of time. Gosh, this just is going through. But what do you say? And we talked about this a little bit, but I want to kind of hammer this one because I think it's something people in the back of their minds are going to be afraid of. Well, if I have this open adoption, you know, what if my kid likes her birth parent better and they say they want to live with them, or I'm afraid they're going to run away with them or they're going to take them back. But that's not what open adoption leads to very much, I would think.
Right. It should not, that's for sure. If it gets to that point, then something has gone off the tracks earlier on.
Yeah,
And so I would just say, you know, throughout the process, work with someone who has knowledge on how to guide you on how to manage the relationship, right? So the only way that a child could say, I want to live with you, her, or them, rather than you, is that they've maybe have spent some time, significant time at that other house or spent the night over. I'm not saying that that cannot happen, but in a practical experience, I don't see why that would happen,
right,
right? Until later on, right? If that's what they want. But when we're talking about a young child, you're just having a meeting one day, right? Maybe it's to go get ice cream. You meet up and get ice cream and you talk and you might share pictures, and gradually over time, there might be more disclosures about other family members and seeing pictures. But at some point, if we're talking about an older child, if that's what they want, then if you feel that it's within your realm to let them explore that, you can certainly consider it. But I don't see that happening if it is managed from the
right,
beginning the right way.
right. It goes back to the they're not co-parents
Right,
and they don't have legal parental rights,
right.
and I think the adopting parents really understanding what that means can help alleviate that a little bit. Just that thought.
Absolutely. And then
Um,
the last thing is to also say, if the birth family really cares about the emotional health of that child, then they won't interject themselves in situations that they don't have a need to be in,
right,
right?
right.
So if you don't do that, you won't confuse the child.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole point is to not have a confused, you know, kid.
Exactly. That's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I just think that's great. Well, we are getting down to the end. I do want to ask you, if someone who's listening, wants to get a hold of you, how can they do this? And how can they contact you?
Yes. So they can reach me at openadoptionsuccess.com. And I would love to have a conversation. There's a questionnaire there. There's no right or wrong answer. You can take that and answer the questions. It will help you understand the adoption process and going through it as a single. I actually have some couples that have come to me who are exploring adoption. So although my niche might be single women, I'm finding the more I do these podcasts and people hear me speak, I'm getting a broader audience, and I'm happy to work with them as well. And you can reach me on social media, and I do workshops, keynote speaking. I'm available to be your adoption coach, an adoption doula at that.
I like that. I like that. And it releases again, people don't want to think, there's probably a million questions to ask you
Mhm.
and they come in. And you really don't want people to think, oh, I'm a bad person because I'm asking this question, about boundaries or whatever.
Right.
It's
No
it's not
judgment.
about that. It's
Right.
making all better at the end.
Oh, no judgment. You are making a huge decision, especially if you're coming into parenting at a later age at 40 and 50. So
Yeah.
it's expected that you're going to have questions. It's expected that you might have doubts that you can do it. But I also will be able to give you lots of encouragement and prime examples of how the people that have gone through it before you and have had great success. And their lives are better for having mothered um, or fathered an adopted child.
Yeah. It feels like uh, flexibility is a big thing here because you don't know what's coming. And like you said, you can make this plan, but that's here. And then as the years go by, you really need to be open-minded, flexible enough to change when you should change, to do something different when or stay the same.
Yeah.
But the flexibility seems like it's something that really would help the entire process.
Oh, for sure. With adoption, it's up and down. I mean, just like with fertility, fertility treatments has you up and down, but adoption has its own ups and downs. And the less likely that you're going to hold on to that steering wheel and try to control the process, the less frustrated you are. If you release and go, okay, I can expect this, and you're going to expect it because I'm going to share with you what you can expect at different stages. So you're not going to want to try to control and drive this way when you should be going straight or to the left. You do
Yeah.
need a lot of flexibility and patience.
Oh, I love it. Well, unfortunately, we are now out of time. And I thank you so much for being here to talk about just I like the term you use, modern family by choice. It is a leap as a single adult to open adopt a child. And that's why people like you are so great because you
Oh,
can
thank you.
through unknown factor and help them as they go along. I think that's just great. So thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me and for having this incredibly important conversation.
It is. It really is. And everyone, thank you for joining us today. If anyone has any further questions on today's topic, you can post it here and we can help you get connected with Ayo, or you can call her or contact her directly.